Hello, welcome back to another podcast here at Baskets Galore. This is season 2, and we're looking at the objectives that a small business would have had it's the year 2025, and it's the summertime. So we're going back to objective 4, and one of the objectives of the company by this stage was to have landing pages and video generated. I'm joined today by Lee, who is the lead video agent at the company. And he's going to give us his insights into what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, what advances he's seen from us as a small business, what things he still thinks that we still need to do as a small business to improve our engagement metrics with our customers. So we are of the belief that websites and e-commerce, we're a digital e-commerce company. We know that e-commerce is going to become headless. So the back end and the front end are going to increasingly diverge. So we don't believe that the back end is as easily as automated as what is being claimed by a lot of parties on YouTube, or is basically outsourced. We believe that the front end is, in our opinion, much easier and much more fun to play around with. So whatever the debate is, the front end and the back end are going to need to be automated. So with that in mind, as a small business, taking the steps towards preparing for automation between your front end and your back end is something that we are taking seriously in here at Baskets Galore. And we're discussing the role of video landing pages in relation to your front end aspects of your e-commerce website. So without further ado, I'm going to go on with 5 questions for Lee. And question number 1, Lee, what video assets did you inherit last year at Baskets Galore when you started your tactical plan for year ending 30th of June 2025?
So the biggest asset was probably the YouTube library. So it goes back, started in 2009, which for that time period as well shows just how far ahead of the game Baskets Galore was as well. Not many people were doing YouTube back in 2009 to that sort of extent.
Well, I would say that lots of people were, but they were agencies more.
Yeah, not that style of videos, really.
Yes, yeah. It was more digital marketing agencies would say, do you want to do a video to a small business? And they would say yes, no, or whatever. Whereas we took it on board within house to do so. Yeah.
So I was able just to look through that whole library and see the growth over the videos from 2009 up to the present day. Saw the kind of shift away from sort of the glam style promo videos to the more formulated videos which we're doing now. The other sort of side is that as well as the iCloud library, whereas all the stock videos are sort of kept and all the raw footage. That goes back to 2018. So there's a big library there. There's 30,000 images and 10,000 videos, which is a good library to start with, to get going with, and just to try and get everything from there.
Well, the great thing about having that asset base is that it's unstructured data that you can use to generate your own sort of like memory LLM in a way whereby you've got a chance to automate things as opposed to relying upon other people's tools of automation. So in your opinion, then you saw that there was a cloud division essentially, post 2018 cloud, and prior to 2018, whereby lots of businesses, and this is interesting for small businesses, well, any size of business, is that prior to the cloud, obviously all of your data was stored on servers and hard drives.
Took up a lot of space
and whatever. Yeah. So quite a lot of data would have been wiped periodically.
Yeah. You sort of had to pick through the best, and then you lost stuff then that you might have actually regretted. Yeah. If you needed it then in the future. So that's a good thing about the cloud. You can sort of keep everything and just be constantly expanding it.
Well, I don't know if that's a good thing. Last summer, 2 summers ago, 3 summers ago, I had to pay money for people to destroy duplications, similarities nonsense on the iCloud, and it takes time and money to go through and delete all of that human wise. So it's not necessarily in your advantage to gather as much data or as many pictures as possible. It's in your interest to collect the best possible representation of your business.
Quality over quantity, sort of always wins.
So would it be fair to say there's a break there? There's the iCloud, which is previous to the cloud technology, and then post-cloud technology. So let's focus in, Lee, on the last 6 or 7 years or whatever. You've been here just over a year. So take us through that aspect of your appraisal of post-cloud videos.
The one sort of that I looked at the most was the ones where it was sort of showing people the how-to videos of how to make the hampers and stuff. And that's when I started as well. I was editing some of those, putting those together. So I was able to see sort of the growth from them from back when they were first sort of done. And it's really just that shift from the sort of, the right promo style video. We're doing something different with the sort of the newer ones.
You mentioned the how-to videos. How did you feel about watching 60 odd how-to videos?
Well, in the beginning, it wasn't too bad because that's when I just started and I was given the task of doing all of those. So at the very start, it wasn't too bad. It gave me a good sort of insight as well to what the company did and stuff. But they get very repetitive after maybe 10 or so of them. And as well, we're doing it sort of for the first time as well. So you guys were learning as well to get better and better. So there was a lot of like waffling and stuff in the first couple because we tried to get them to sort of 5 minutes or so was the sort of ideal 3 to 5 minute videos for each, but the raw footage was maybe 20 minutes. So there was a lot of stuff to sort through, and it took a lot of mental effort just to push through it.
Yeah. Also, it's commercial madness as well because it's that time spent to generate it, and it's that time spent to edit it and whatever. The only way that we can obviously afford to do this is obviously the seasonality of our business. It makes sense to. It's quite straightforward for us to operate logistically at this time of year. At Christmas time, it's 7 days a week, long hours. So we can spend a little bit of time on things through the year, which are going to stand us instead that we can't do in the winter time. But I also remember that period of time in terms of it was important to gain some sort of like a framework upon which to advance ourselves to be better. You were seizing ownership of that digital landscape in a way, and we will use that base work to advance ourselves this summertime and to see where we can make improvements and how we can be better at things. So it was a preparation really for a sort of like a multi-advertising world based upon video and images. Is there any other assets that you want to comment upon?
Sort of the one other small thing was just the music application in videos. There was a young girl came in, there was them sort of 30-second videos that we were working on for the different occasions. So the sort of application of the classical music and the formula came from that.
So you've mentioned that obviously it resonates with you then, the musical aspect of stuff. What did you find? Did that pique your curiosity then and then stimulate like a tactical plan that you would sort of go, yes, I get this?
Yeah, well, definitely the classical music sort of slide. Wouldn't say I'm a classical music fan. I would appreciate it, but it's not the sort of music I would personally listen to, as you can tell by what I'm wearing, Metallica. But it's something that not many people would have done before, is the application of the classical music and how it syncs with the videos as well.
What I was doing there was I was taking the mathematical patterns of music and using it in a way where it would perform the functions of a formula for a video narration, which would make it more engaging to a human watcher. It would be entertaining, it would be emotionally stimulating, and it would be better than anything that had come before. That was the asset of music.
Yeah.
And you see us probably now applying it more and more. And it's something I think that you enjoy and we will continue to evolve and grow into. Okay, so I think we've got a good idea for the assets. If I were to summarize those assets down, it would be that you had a vast catalog database of images and videos broken into pre-cloud based upon server and post-cloud, far more, but in a more fragmented form. You had musical assets, a plan, a best approach protocol to follow, and you also had other assets such as
iCloud.
Previous interpretations or iterations of other designers through the years.